This is Kurt Wells, and you're listening to the Nerdball podcast.
This is the Nerdball podcast with Lorenzo Melcher.
Awesome. One take. Good job, Kurt. That's it.
You know, well, you didn't hear it yet. You're going to have to listen.
Well, I heard it just now. How's it going, man? Thanks for coming on the podcast.
It's going pretty good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I've been wondering when you were going to have me on.
Everything's been going good, man. I just saw you a few weeks ago at your Hall of Fame induction. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, everything's going pretty well. I mean, things are a lot different nowadays with a child, but
yeah,
other than that, things are going really good, I would say.
Good. The first thing I always ask everybody is, what is something you've been nerding out about lately? Something you're super into, something, TV show, movies, hobby, something that you've been into. It could be something you've been into your whole life or something you just started.
And it has to be nerdy?
No, it can be whatever you want it to be. Just something that gets you away from your job, really.
Well, I always have liked puzzling.
Okay.
I haven't been focused on it lately, but I love doing puzzles.
Like
this particular type of puzzle. It's funny. I was a part-time job, but I still work out here. I'll work it and then I'll take some time off and then I'll go back to it because my friends basically run the company. So you just remove junk from people's homes. And I came across a puzzle and one job, and it was the city of Pittsburgh, but like a cartoon drawing of it.
Uh-huh.
And like a character drawing of it. And I put it together and I really liked the puzzle. And then I just started like buying these puzzles off eBay of like different cities. So I have like 20 of these puzzles. I've probably done like 8 or 9 of them. I just like am so hesitant to like open the brand new box and start the puzzle because I don't know why, but I love those puzzles. So that would be.
Is that something you've always been into? Like, or is it just like because you found the puzzle when you were working?
It would probably be more because I found the puzzle when I was working. Like, surely I did puzzles as a kid, but not like once I found that puzzle, it was like I was doing puzzles like crazy. Yeah. Now, since having a kid, it's kind of taken a back seat. But, Kelly used to help me work on them, and it was a good time.
What do you do with them?
We can get back into it.
What do you do with them when you're done?
Put them back in the box.
That's when I was younger, we would do puzzles, me and my dad or my brother and sisters. And then a few of them, my dad would get a big piece of cardboard and we would glue the puzzle on the cardboard and then Mod Podge over it. So it like seals it all together, and then he'd frame it and hang it up.
Yeah. I've had this like grand idea because like I said, it's like these city puzzles. Mm-hmm. So like I have all these cities like Pittsburgh, DC, Los Angeles, it's like United States geography. I had this like grand idea to like kind of make like a United States map with these puzzles and then use it as like a place where like Kelly and I have traveled to and like put, memories on it. But I just always end up putting the puzzles back in the boxes. I had one friend out here who puzzles. He would complete them, but he'd buy the clear like moving box storage like tape, like the masking tape, and he would just start wrapping the puzzle in the tape. And I remember he just pulled like 20 puzzles out from under his couch, all wrapped in the clear masking tape one time. So that's another option to the cardboard.
That is a good idea. I like about you traveling because it's I think it'd be cool, especially because you said Kelly would help you do it, your wife, and like I imagine like you saying that. I imagine you guys like doing this puzzle and then like talking about like going there or doing these things there at that city or whatever. And then at some point to be able to actually like do it as you talked about. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but the only problem is that the puzzles are kind of big and I don't think this garage has enough wall space. So that's the only place I could do it. And we don't travel enough, obviously, anymore with having a 9-month-old son.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, that'll happen, man. That'll happen. That's cool though. I like, that's one of the more unique ones. Like I haven't had anybody talk about puzzles at all. That's pretty cool though, because it is. I like people when they get into hobbies like later on. I mean, it's cool. Like I've had this thing since I've done since I'm 8, and I've done all these things. But this is a more recent one, and it's something you can still do because you have all these puzzles in a box. And when you're done, you put them back in the box anyway, so you can redo them. But I think it's cool to find something, as you get older, as we get older.
Yeah, most definitely. Because
yeah.
I mean, I can only play video games for so long. I mean, I still play video games, but you kind of get burnt out on video games. So,
what's the system you have now? Have you bought anything new?
the newest system I have is the Xbox 360, and I don't even play that. I play PlayStation 2 still. NCAA football 09. The only game I pretty much have. Yeah, the last one they made for the PS2, I believe.
Okay.
So that's the one I play. I have college football for the 360. The last year they made it, 2014, but I was never really into the gameplay on the 360. And recruiting got like so complex that it kind of like turned me off. And Trey and I have had conversations about 2014 NCAA football, but I'm going to stick to how I feel about the game, and Trey can have his opinion on it. So
that's fine. I do agree. I also have a Xbox 360, but now because my son's older, we have a Xbox Series S and a Nintendo Switch. So I have to move up. But I do agree that it did get very complex, but I like it. Like I understand why people don't like it, but I like that part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if I like devoted the time, like the hours it would take to really become an established recruiter in 2014 NCAA football, I could do it. But for now, I'd like the simplicity of 09. It's only like, you only get to pick like 6 or 7 pitches you can throw to a recruit, and it's simple. 5 weeks after the season's over, done.
Yeah.
And you just simulate another season to get right back to it, because that's the best part of the game.
Don't get me wrong. I have simulated my fair share of recruiting, especially when there's some days I feel like doing it and some days I don't. But you're right. What I do like about 14 is you can be an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator. I mean, I don't know anybody I've ever known who was a defensive coordinator, but you could be those things and then get hired, at other jobs. I like that part of it.
Yeah, that is cool. It is a great video game franchise. I'm looking forward to when they bring it back, supposedly in 2024 now. It was supposed to be this year, at which point in time I'll probably get an updated system, hopefully. Have to figure that out. But
yeah, we all have to ask our wives about that kind of stuff. I get it.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it, but
I get it.
Thanks for
Dude, I remember getting it had to, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was a new game for the 360 or something. And I went out shopping like real late at night, and I started to come home and set stuff up. Adria's like sleeping. Mateo's a baby. She's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I just got this. I'm excited to play this thing."
Yeah. They'll never understand. You remember when you got the PS2? It was like your junior year of high school when that came out. And you got PS2, and GTA was the game that, I don't know if it came with it. We sat there and we probably played that game at your house for like 3 days straight on Christmas break. You, me, and Erwin, and whoever else.
Dude, those is. I mean, I love video games. We've been playing video games since we were able to hold a joystick. But the best part of it, like I remember those days, like we were just playing it or staying up, never going to sleep, eating food, whatever, in the basement. And I remember one time when I was in like 6th grade, and on Pokemon Snap came out on N64, and me and my buddies were up. 6th grade buddies were just eating all this junk food and drinking pops, not even sleeping, and all we were doing is taking pictures of Pokemon on this game.
You weren't even playing the game; you were just taking pictures.
That is the game. You just take pictures.
I never had a 64 growing up. I have one now with all my systems, so I don't understand the Pokemon craze. Not the video game, the cards whatsoever. So
dude, that is my jam, and it's even better because Mateo's into it, so it makes all that better. So Pokemon Snap was a game you just took pictures of Pokemon, and it came out again, I think last year for Nintendo Switch, and Mateo got it, and you do a lot more now. I mean, you still take pictures, but you have to do these certain things in certain sequences, or throw fruit at these Pokemon to get them to do special things or whatever. So there's more, it's more involved, but all that stuff, man. Cards. I just bought a Pikachu Funko Pop the other day. So I'm that's my first Funko Pop I ever bought. But I love it, man. It's something I've been into since I was 13.
Well, that's great. You can share it with Mateo too.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I don't.
I'm sorry. I have no frame of reference on the Pokemon stuff, but
no, you're good, man. You're playing baseball. I get it.
I did other stuff too.
I know. I'm just messing you. We'll get to that stuff. Yeah, that's the coolest thing. So like now you said you have a 9-month-old, and I remember when Mateo was young, before he could do anything, and just like thinking of like, all right, what's he gonna do, or what am I gonna try to get him into, or what is he gonna like my teams because he better, or all these things. Like you just like waiting for that time when like all the different steps that you can hook up your son.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't want to get there too fast.
Oh, for sure.
I enjoyed the stage we're at now with him, so I don't want to rush into. I mean, there was a point in time where I was like, I can't wait till he's like 5, but now I'm like, I'll put him to bed at night. I'm like, oh, this is so great. Like, don't get older, but I do wonder what he's going to be into, and I hope we have similar interests. So
I think it's just natural to have some similar interests, and there's some things that Mateo likes that it's very few with him, because I think part of it is because I'm a coach, so he's super into sports. He's way more into sports than I was, for sure, just because of the access. Like he can go on YouTube, and every Monday morning before he goes to school, if the Cowboys had a late game where it wasn't on TV, he'll YouTube the highlights and watch all the highlights. And YouTube does a good job of have a nice highlight package, but he does it all the time. We always talk about, the Spurs are horrible this year, but he goes, Dad, did you see the Spurs beat the Nuggets the other day? I'm like, yeah. He goes, how? I'm like, I don't know, man.
That's so cool. I can't wait for those conversations. I don't ever recall like my dad and I having conversations like that as a kid. Although obviously my dad's a huge Buckeyes fan, and I listened to your couple of your podcasts where you're making fun of me about my Ohio State fandom, but I don't ever recall like having those conversations with my dad, like deep, in-depth conversations about sports as younger. But he always liked the Browns and the Buckeyes, and I kind of just followed suit. So
that was my relationship too. My dad and I, we would talk about it, but again, I think the access, like as a 10-year-old, I wasn't going to read the newspaper, but I was going to scan the box scores, and I think we'd talk about it. But because there is so much access, he, as the kid, has more information that he can ask about. I didn't have a lot of information, but my dad would set the radio up, and we would listen to Indians at the time, Indians radio while we were playing basketball. We would always, the Spurs were never on TV because we lived in Ohio when I was younger, but we'd always watch Cowboy games. I mean, my dad took us to 8 Indians games every year. We had to stand in line in November to buy tickets for the next year because they were always good and they sold out. So he was super involved in like sports, and he coached my baseball team, and he was always there. But you're right. I think it's just the information, and that's what kind of didn't lead into those conversations. But just like your dad, like that fandom just gets absorbed into you because you're around it so much, and your dad's not going to put any other game on besides Ohio State on Saturday, so you're gonna watch it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, hell yeah. Nowadays, though.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, nowadays there's so much football on, so much sports on. You can get access to anything. So yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, you just gotta pay for it. I told Mateo if the Spurs are ever good again, I would buy NBA League Pass so we could watch more of their games.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how long have they been abysmal for? Struggling for?
This is the worst of it. Like I think they made the playoff game or play-in game 2 years ago, I think. But then they started, selling off their pieces because everyone saw Victor Wembanyama coming. So,
yeah. Well, you had a great run there for a while.
Oh, for sure. I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining at all.
It'll come back around.
Yeah. So I obviously you've been one of my really good friends for a long time. I know a lot about you, but the several people that listen to this might not know. Did you grow up? Did you grow up your whole life in Perrysburg?
Technically, no. The first 7 years of my life, we were in Rossford. It was Perrysburg Township, but it was Rossford School District. So I did kindergarten and first grade at Indian Hills Elementary School, which is no longer because Rossford condensed everything into the one building there on Glenwood Road, and now they just have the high school and the other building. So
my sister-in-law, and brother-in-law live across the street from Indian Hills.
Yeah, does the building still stand?
Yes, it does. They're right now they're trying to figure out, like, they don't know what to do with it. They don't know if they're gonna like give it to, like, if the city's gonna use it for anything, or if they're gonna give it to like a YMCA or turn it into something else. But it's just sitting there.
Yeah, we used to call it, because if you drive by it, it looks like cupcakes upside down. So my brother Kyle and I used to call it the upside down cupcake building.
I'm gonna have to look at that next time I'm over there. I never looked at it enough.
I'll wait for the text for confirmation.
Yeah. So then you moved to Perrysburg to go to second grade, and you lived in a house that we spent many nights in high school sneaking out of to go do things.
Yeah. Good things, though, obviously. Nothing mischievous or anything.
Always, yeah. What else are you going to do at 2 a.m.? It's the only good things. Volunteer. Got it. So when you moved to Perrysburg, I moved when I was a freshman. So like I was aware that, hey, I'm moving. This kind of sucks. I'm leaving a lot of friends. I'm trying to make new ones. When you're 7, 8 years old, do you remember like how you felt about moving?
Well, I mean, I didn't have many friends I don't remember any friends from Rossford. So, I mean, I was 6 or 7 years old, so I didn't have many to begin with. But I actually it's funny, because we moved to Perrysburg. My mom grew up there. Her whole family grew up there. So I think she probably just always had this burning desire to get back to Perrysburg. But I remember my father would take me and my brothers over to Tulsa Elementary School, and they used to have this old like wooden playground set right out there, and we always used to like beg him to take us there so we could go play on it. And so like when we found out that we were moving to Perrysburg and we were a block away from Tulsa Elementary School, like I was like super jacked. So I was excited to move. And plus, a lot of people don't know this, but my mom, she lived by herself before she met my dad, and she was a hardworking woman, and she bought a mobile home over there on Oregon Road in Rossford. And so she lived there by herself before she met my father. And then, they got married and they had the three of us. So we spent, the first 7 years of my life, 5 of us in a little 2-bedroom, single wide mobile home. And so my parents bought the house on 6th Street, and it was, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. I mean, it wasn't anything spectacular, but it was a huge upgrade for us and a lot more room. So I think we were all kind of pumped to get over there.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I think that's awesome that you. What?
But the only thing that the trailer park had that we didn't have, there was a swimming pool at the trailer. There was 2 of them, so like we go swimming whenever we wanted in the summertime. But
now you got a playground.
Sacrifices have to be made.
Yeah. Now you have the playground. You can go. Do you remember when your parents just started letting you go by yourself? Or with your brothers?
Do you want me to be honest on that, or do you want me to make up something?
No, I want you like right away. Like, I'm 6. I'm going to play by.
I mean, I couldn't have been older than I could ride my bike anywhere in Perrysburg when we moved there, like 7 without. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's all I'll say. Well, I feel like my brother, I feel like my parents, I mean, times were different, but I feel like the 3 of us boys would stay home in the summer when Kevin was 11, Kyle was 9, and I was 7, and we'd never gotten in any trouble. I mean, I broke a window one time in the house, but that was it. Like, we weren't out causing trouble or anything.
Well,
So,
yeah, that's the same for me too. Like, I mean, my brother would in the summer, he would watch us. I guess watch is a loose term, but he was
right.
there. He was there, and again, this is just how it was, and we would my mom was home sometimes. I think she was a nurse, so I think she worked different schedules. I can't remember offhand. I'm sure when she's listening to this show, I'm sure she'll text me immediately. But I do remember just being around, and I remember my youngest sister. She would. I feel like she was like in second grade, and she would just be gone for the entire day, like, and she'd just be out. That's how we learned. That's how we figured out she learned how to swim. She just learned how to swim on her own by herself at her friend's house. It's because she would swim all day over there. We had no idea that she learned how to swim.
She turned out great.
Yeah. So again, you're right. It's just a little different, and that's just how it was. And it's not like you're going, especially to that playground, but Perrysburg is such a, like, with the tree streets and the number streets, it's all so tight and blocked in there. Like you're not gonna get lost. You're gonna be able to find your way, especially if you grow up there.
Yeah, it was a great little community. Well, I mean, it still is, obviously. So.
Yeah.
So there was one summer my mom signed us up for a YMCA summer camp where we'd go. But even then, I think it was on a church on 2nd Street. And I think me and my brothers would just walk to the summer camp.
Yeah.
I don't think that parents ever dropped us off. We just like walk to the summer camp, and then if it was nice enough to go to the Perrysburg pool that day, the whole summer camp group would walk from 2nd Street to the Perrysburg pool, and that was it. But that was only like one summer. And I think my parents just couldn't afford it the next year. So
yeah, it's nice to have those have those memories of this is what we used to do, or I do. It's it cold out in your garage?
Cold out here. Yeah. I threw my space heater away because it doesn't work anymore.
That's probably good. I mean, you don't want a half working space heater.
Yeah. Spring's
so
around the corner.
Yeah. So as you get older, I think most people know, and but you played college baseball, so baseball was a huge part of your life growing up. And I think you talked about it a little bit at your Hall of Fame induction ceremony. But do you remember the first time, not necessarily just playing catch, but like one of your first memories of baseball? What do you have one that kind of sticks out?
Yeah, well, I referenced it at the ceremony, but it was at my grandparents' house on Hickory Street, and my uncle was just soft tossing me. It might have been I said a wiffle ball, but I don't remember if it was a wiffle ball or not. But he was soft tossing me like BP in the front yard, and he bet me $1 that I couldn't hit the wiffle ball to the sidewalk, and I vividly have recollection of that memory. I can't tell you how old I was. I might have been maybe 3 years old, which is hard to, like, people probably hear that and they don't believe it, but no, I vividly remember like being there playing baseball, well, wiffle ball at that young age, and I have the pictures to prove it. So
do you remember like at any point when you're every kid is like, hey, I want to play in the majors leagues, hey, I want to be on my favorite team, this and that, but where was in your career where was like, hey, I want to play college baseball? Like when was that an actual thought of yours?
Oh, I would say probably when I got to high school.
Yeah,
is when I really like. I mean, I always loved baseball so much. I mean, I still love baseball so much. It's just I mean, a lot of people don't like it, but it's just hard to describe. If you don't like follow the game, it's hard to describe. But I always just love playing the game. I love the strategy. I love the coaching decisions. Like, I mean, every pitch does have an impact on the game, even though people don't believe it, but it certainly does. So I would say high school is when I really wanted, I had set this goal that, hey, I wanted to play college baseball, and not only college, like I wanted to play at the highest level in college. I didn't want to play at community college like Owens or anything. I mean, if it came down to it, I would have, but I wanted to get a scholarship offer and be able to go play at the D1 level. So once I got to high school, it was definitely when I was really focused on getting there. And I had, there was guys in the program before me that, like Brian Vickers, who we went to school with his brother Wade, and I always looked up to Brian. Brian was a tremendous baseball player, and he got drafted after his senior year of high school, and he ended up going to Wright State to play and had just a monster career at Wright State. But I remember when he went there and Burke went to Bowling Green, and I was like, man, well, I would really like to follow in those guys' footsteps. So
it is good to have like people to like before you, like, hey, this is it's because it makes it seem attainable. Like it makes it seem like I'm not going to be the first one, or there was people ahead of me to do this. So it's got to feel a little easier knowing that these guys were able to do what now you are looking forward to doing.
Well, yeah, I mean, you want to have role models and kind of people that you were playing alongside that you see them achieve, and then I mean, it's good to have people right by your side and setting similar goals so you can attain them. I wouldn't say it was easy for me though. I don't know if you remember my journey to get to college baseball. I didn't get a Division I scholarship offer until after we graduated high school. I didn't sign. Same with Adam. I didn't sign my letter of intent until I believe it was July 10th of 2003, and we started school on August 26th, 2003. So it was a long process for me. I waited and waited and waited because I like I said, I could have went and played somewhere else. It's smaller, but I just had my sights set on Division I, and fortunately, I don't want to say luckily, but fortunately, two scholarship offers came through within a week, Bowling Green and Wright State, and I got in there.
What made you choose BG?
Well, it's a funny story, actually, because like I was talking earlier, I really looked up to Brian, and he went to Wright State, and Wright State was the other school that ended up offering me, and I visited Bowling Green with Adam. I think it was on like a Thursday, and then I had a visit to Wright State set up on a Monday. My mom and I went down to Wright State, and I was like, I really want to go to Wright State. Like I had that in my mind before when I was at Bowling Green, before I took my Wright State visit, and then went down to Wright State and met the coach, and they have a great baseball facility down there that I really like too. But I was just thinking, I'm like, man, if they offer like just a tad bit more scholarship money, this is for certain. But then I went down there and toured the place and met the coach, and driving back, and I let it simmer a couple days after that. And then I just realized, like, thinking about the Bowling Green visit, and met Coach Smith and a couple of the players and all the stuff they told me, and I felt like that was going to be the best fit, and it was going to push me more at Bowling Green than going to Wright State. Just the feeling I got. So I chose Bowling Green because it just, I don't know, it felt right.
Yeah, and a lot of times that's what it, that's what you do when you get a job or move or whatever. Like sometimes it comes down to like, hey, this just feels right now.
Yeah, and not to say I wouldn't have been pushed hard by Wright State, and because they certainly had their successes on the baseball field, and successful players come through their program. So, but Bowling Green just felt like more of a fit, and it was close to home. So
yeah, it
was the right decision looking back. Great decision. Fastest 4 years of my life was at Bowling Green.
I tell you what, I enjoyed you and Gumph being on the baseball team. It was a lot of fun. We'd come watch a few games. We'd hang out, like meeting the people, Barnard, Monkey, like just meeting these guys. Like it was fun to like be a part of it. And like all those guys, including you and Adam, were it wasn't just like, here's the baseball team. It's like, no, we're just all friends. Here are our friends from high school. Here are our friends from the baseball team, and we're just hanging out. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're all the same.
Yeah, man.
We all had like the same personality. Yeah, it was wild. Monkey, man. I just talked to him the other day.
Did you?
I talk to him frequently. Well, not as frequently as he should, but he lives outside of Toronto with his wife and 4 boys.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I think
cool. He said he's coming back in town soon, but we're not going to have enough time to see each other.
That's pretty cool, man. And that's another thing that people always talk about, especially even when you just go to college and like meet people. and or like a random roommate, and then you guys are just friends for a long time, and even not speaking, like you said, you don't speak as much as you should, but sometimes that doesn't matter. Like you can go 6 months without talking to somebody, and it doesn't, that doesn't matter. You're catching up. You're still friends. It doesn't retire your friendship, but it's cool to like, be a part of that. Even Dustin Irwin's roommate from freshman year, I still talk to him every once in a while.
Dash Puncher?
No.
Uh,
It was a different guy, Clayton Moore.
That's right, Clayton.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Clayton.
Yeah.
You remember Staff Muncher?
Oh,
too,
yeah.
for sure, right? Who was he rooming with? How did he get involved with this? We used to play poker with quarters till all hours of the night in the dorms with that dude.
I don't know where. I think Irwin knew him, maybe from his dorm. I don't know, but that's where I think he came from. Maybe he just showed up. He didn't even take classes. He just showed up one day.
I can't even remember that kid's real name. I think it was Steve something.
Stash Muncher.
We need Irwin.
Oh man. So you signed super late, you said. Gumph goes with you. How I would imagine Gumph didn't really have any other options. It was just like, hey, I'm gonna go play baseball at BG because they're giving me a book scholarship or whatever, I've never really talked to him about
it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not certain who else. I mean, I know Heidelberg recruited the both of us, and then some other D3 schools and some D2 schools. I'm not certain. We went to Oakland University up in Michigan for a camp once, and from my understanding, I feel like they may have like loosely offered Adam and I a scholarship, and then they came to watch us play our senior year, and Gump started pitching that day, and it was probably the worst game we played all year. We lost to Southview, who was abysmal that year. We lost to him 3-0. We got one hit. And so after that, we never heard from Oakland University again. So I don't know. I don't know who else. You'd probably have to talk to Adam. I'm sure he got some interest. He was a lefty. He threw the heavy ball. Like, I mean, he didn't overpower you, but I like what us baseball guys would call like a heavy fastball. Like, ball felt weighted when you made contact with it, even on the fastball, even though it was coming in, low to mid 80s. And he also had a hammer of a curveball. So
as a lefty.
Yeah. Lefty.
I didn't realize.
I hope Elliott turns out to be a lefty. Like, I got his right arm in a sling so far for the first 9 months. Odds are pretty good.
Well, just don't do it like Adam ended up, because didn't he say his grandpa shut his arm in the door, broke his arm, and that's how he became left-handed?
Yeah, something like that. Was it his grandpa or his dad?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the story. That's a great story, though. Look where it got him.
Oh, for sure. I never realized until Coach Hall talked about it, how offensively inept you guys were our senior year. Like, he was going through winning these games, 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, like I didn't, as a fan going to your games, I didn't really pay attention to all that. To me, that's just baseball. Like, those are the scores in baseball. It's going to be low scoring because that's just the game. But when he was going through all these and how impressive it was that every time you guys won 1-0 or 2-1, who had the RBIs? Oh, Kurt. Who had both RBIs in that one? Oh, Kurt. We won on a double. All these things, and it was cool for him to like go through that when he was introducing you, and because again, I had zero idea that you guys weren't a very good offensive team.
Yeah, I mean, you bat 9 guys in the lineup, you get probably 12 to 15 guys get at bats for the year. There was 3 guys on that team that had a 300 batting average or above. And it was Mark St. John was one of them, and Mark Badenhop, and then myself, and then everyone else was below the 300 line. And I mean, looking back, I don't feel like we were that terrible offensively, but maybe we were. I mean, there were certainly some games we scored a ton of runs too. I remember so weird how you can remember all these stats from high school, but that's what being a baseball player is. We're all like numbers guys. But we put up 16 on Northview. We put up 14 on St. Ignatius. We scored a lot of runs some games, but there were a lot of close ball games. Coach Hall also he misspoke on a couple of his quotes too, but he didn't give himself enough credit on the one where against Findlay he said that I stole second and went to the third on the overthrow, but I wasn't a straight steal because I wasn't overly fast. Coach Hall omitted the fact that he called a delayed steal, which is where you take your secondary lead like you normally do every pitch, and then on that third stride you bust into the steal hoping to catch the defense off guard, the shortstop and the second baseman who's ever covering the bag, which it worked perfectly because neither of them were there to cover the bag on the throw on the steal attempt on the delayed steal, and the ball just went into center field and I went right to third base. So I'm just trying to give Coach Hall a little bit of credit for that because he called the delayed steal, not a straight steal.
Those again, like when you're there, like thinking about like how pinpoint that your accuracy of that moment is. Like, I mean, you lived it, so you're gonna know it. But it's cool to like hear all those things and to give Coach Hall his credit when you can.
Yeah, I mean, he's a heck of a coach. He knows.
Yeah.
He knows a ton. And he's been doing it for 40 plus years. He's pressed the right buttons a lot of the times. Like that delayed steal call was a perfect example of, because that was a 0-0 game when that happened, and it was in the 6th inning when he called that delayed steal. And you had the winning run on first base. That's the gutsy move. A guy that doesn't steal a whole lot of bases, and then it ended up winning the game because after I got to third, there was a pass ball, and I scored on the pass ball, and that was it. 1-0. Game over. Although Findlay did load the bases in the bottom of the 7th inning, they loaded the bases with 2 outs, and then they hit a fly ball to deep center field to end the game with the bases loaded down 1-0. But it was wild. Heck of a game.
Yeah, I do remember. I think it was the day of our graduation. You guys had a game, and I remember the one play I remember from that game is Gump throwing somebody out from right field at home plate. I think it was that
huge
game.
Play. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were playing Berea in the regional semifinals. It was I can't pinpoint the score at the time of that play. It might have been 4-4, but that game went extra innings. That game went to 8 innings, and we won it 5-4 on a bloop single by Mark St. John. And I just remember the game finished and everyone's like, "Oh, Mark, that's going to be a base hit in the newspaper tomorrow," and the newspaper comes out the next day, like the local newspaper, like Cleveland or Northeast Ohio or whatever, because that's where Berea's from, and it says bloop single ends Berea season, and then we're just like, sorry, Mark, it's still a base hit though, buddy.
That's your bloop single.
Yeah, for sure.
That's funny.
That's good things happen when you put the baseball in play. That's what Danny Schmitz always used to say.
Yeah.
Perfect example right there.
Kind
of lost in a major league game.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Contact, no contact anymore. Just try to hit a home run or strike out and get out of there.
Well, it depends on what team you are. I think the Indians, Guardians that do a pretty good job of just watching them. They do a pretty good job putting the ball in play and being able to. They're really good base runners.
Yeah. I did see that at the end of last season.
Yeah.
It's hard for me. I can't watch the Indians Guardians anymore, like because as you know, my uncle Ronnie works for MLB, but I don't know if I should say this on the podcast, but he used to have the MLB TV subscription. I used to like watch a lot of Indians games using his credentials, but then they nixed that. So now I can only watch them when they're on national TV.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's that's today's world. Hey, let me get your password for this and that, and we're good to go. We use my in-laws. They still have cable, so we can log in. We can watch anything because we just use their login to watch all kinds of stuff. So it's just the way of the world, man.
Yeah, we still have cable. Kelly's begging me to get rid of it.
Yeah,
but this goes back to the Ohio State fandom. Like, I can't. Like, I need the cable box for college football Saturdays because, first of all, it's tied into this TV right out here, so I can watch the games out here. But it's still live. It's, it's coming to you live. If I went to streaming it, then I'm getting text, a minute ahead of what the TV's showing me, and it's just not going to work for me. Because Corwin, we have a group text with Corwin and he's always like, "Whoa, your guys' TVs are way behind, or way ahead of mine. Please quit saying what's going on." I'm like, and I don't want that to happen to me. So
I get it, man. I get it. Yeah, we haven't had cable in a while, and we live fine, except those few times. I think we watched some baseball playoff games. I think we watched a few together, and that happened where people were just we're on Zoom watching the game, and people react, and then 10 seconds later, we're like, "Oh, that's why you're reacting that way."
Yeah, it's the worst feeling in the world. You feel like you're being left out,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I just don't want to live it.
It's all right. That's all right.
Also, you don't have to tell Kelly this, although I'm sure she'll listen to this podcast. But most Ohio State games, even out here, you can get them on national TV because most of the time they're on ABC or the Big Ten's got that massive contract with Fox, so 75% of their games are on Fox or ABC. So technically, you could just put the antenna or the paper clip in the back in your coax and your TV and get the local channels, and I could still probably watch Ohio State football just fine. But
you want to watch all of them?
That'll be for another day. Yeah, I don't want to miss a game.
Yeah, for sure.
Unless it's like Rutgers, then they'll spank Rutgers, but I can afford to miss that one.
Have you watched an Ohio State game not at Ohio State, like another college? Have you gone to an Ohio State game at another college?
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to Ron, my Uncle Ron, we always try to get to one away game a year, but it ends up being more like once every other year just because stuff comes up. And so the first year we did it, it was 2014 when I was living in Texas with the Gumps. But we went to the game at Michigan State, which was a huge game. So it's Ohio State was ranked 14th and Michigan State was 6th in the country. And we went up there, and then we went a couple years later, 2016, which was probably my favorite trip. We went to DC for the Maryland game, even though it was a massacre. It was the Buckeyes won 63-3 or something like that.
Yeah.
And but it was just great because I took my dad with me, and I'd never been to DC, and it'd been a while for my dad. So we got out there early on Saturday, and it was I think it was a 3:30. It might have been I think it was a 6 p.m. kickoff out there. So we spent all day just walking around DC, walking around the mall, and seeing the sights. And I'll never forget that because my dad, he'd still talk about it to this day. He's like, "Man, I could barely feel my knees," because we probably walked 15 miles that day. And he's always like, "Man, I'm so glad I got to see all that stuff." So that one hits home. But then we went up to Michigan, went to Ohio State at Michigan game. We went to Penn State this past year, the Buckeyes at Penn State game. That was wild.
Was that a night game?
That was pretty cool. No, it was a noon kickoff, and I was happy about it because Ohio State always ends up having to play a night game over in Happy Valley. When I saw it was going to be a noon game this year, I'm like, well, it's about time they don't have to play the night game whiteout. But it was still cool.
I want to go to one of those whiteout games. I think it'd be sweet. I don't care who they play, but I think it'd be cool.
It would be wild. I mean, that place was still loud. I mean, Ohio Stadium's super loud. Michigan Stadium's loud. East Lansing, Spartan Stadium, they're all loud places. But there was one point at Penn State where it was, I think it was the third quarter, maybe the beginning of the fourth quarter. Penn State had just taken the lead, and Ohio State got the ball deep in their own territory. It was the possession you probably didn't follow, but Ohio State ended up scoring in 3 plays to take the lead right back. But when Ohio State got the ball after the kickoff, that place was it was so loud. The stands were shaking underneath my feet. So it was pretty cool.
That's cool. That's cool.
Even though it wasn't a night whiteout game, it was
cool. Well, before we go and wrap it up here, you look like you're freezing. But
I'm okay.
Before we go, I do want to talk about one more thing. I think it's important. Most of our parents growing up, obviously they're fans of us and they want us to do well and do these things and be a part of it and do all this stuff. And my parents were super involved in my baseball team. They both coached. My mom was the bench coach and did the book, and my dad was the head coach and did everything for us. And they were always at our sporting events. And I will always, thank them for being there all the time, because there's some kids coaching now. There's some kids whose parents don't show up to things, and it just it sucks, man. I feel bad for them. So I want to thank my parents for always being there. Your mom, man, I've never known a mom like it was almost to the point where it seemed like if you didn't know her, you were the only child. Like you were she was so into your things and always there. And as much shit as she put up for me and Erwin and being over there and just messing with her all the time, she was always such a good sport. She always had a smile on her face, man. But she was probably one of the biggest mom fans I've seen in my coaching career in my life. And I just want to make that point, because she was always there at everything, and she was just a huge supporter of yours. And I know you didn't take it for granted, but I really enjoyed seeing her at your things.
Yeah, she was certainly devoted. And there's a backstory to that I like to think why she was so devoted to my baseball and going to the games. And once I started playing travel ball, I don't know, I couldn't even tell you a game she missed, because we traveled all over the place. We spent a week in Cooperstown, New York for a tournament. She was there. I went to Oklahoma twice in the same summer. She went both times somehow. And my family wasn't wealthy. I don't know how she did it, but
yeah.
But she was there. She always had her camcorder, from that first travel baseball game when I was 9 years old till we graduated high school. So I think. She certainly enjoyed baseball, but I think my oldest brother was she had a lot on her plate from my oldest brother.
Well, just like just like my older brother. Yeah.
Addiction is ran through our family. So fortunately my father's, conquered his, but it was a lot on my mom, and she put everything on her plate. She wanted to see my oldest brother get better. She wanted to see my father get better. So I feel like baseball was just a release for her to forget all about that stuff and or at least put it on the back burner for the time being. So
yeah. But again, having high school kids over your house and just constantly ragging on you, and she always she would yell at us, but she'd always have a smile on her face when she was doing it. Part of it was she was angry, but part of it was I'm just glad they're here, or they're friends with Kurt, or they're talking to us, because we'd come in, and before we would leave to do anything, we'd talk to your mom, we would talk to your dad, and and rag on them or whatever. But it was cool, just like we would rag on Trey's parents, or you guys would talk to my parents. That's just where we were at in our lives. But I just remember her always just smile, whatever shit we were giving her, she was just smiling through it and letting us be us.
Yeah, well, she certainly liked to give it back too. She used to call Erwin or Weenie all the time.
Oh yeah.
She wasn't scared to slap him in the face either. She'd be in jail. She did slap someone else's child in the face today, but he wasn't afraid to do it.
Oh no, she
was really tough on me though too. We caused a lot of mischief, and she was constantly calling your guys' houses. If she knew we were out causing trouble, calling your cell phones. You remember that? But there's a reason she did it, and it was still.
Yeah. Well, you're worried. Just like my parents, you have one child go one way, and you're like, oh no, what's going to happen with these other ones? And then I think they think worst case scenario, because they've had to deal with worst case scenario for a while. And especially being the older sibling, I know I can speak for my older brother, having all these issues and addiction and everything, that it weighs on a parent. And then thinking, oh, I got more kids, what's going to happen with them? They're oh, where are they at right now, or what are they doing? At all times. It's tough.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah,
it was real tough for my mom.
Oh yeah. But yeah, man, I wanted to wrap up. I wanted to talk about your mom, because I knew how important she was to you, just based on your speech overall was awesome at the Hall of Fame. You did a great job. And then I knew at some point you were going to talk about your mom, and you did a really good job there too. But I wanted to bring it up because I just want you to recognize, or I want you to understand that I recognize your relationship with her, and I appreciated her too, because she made me feel comfortable there, especially being a new kid in Perrysburg. I'm always worried about where I'm going or what I'm doing. I'll make friends, but then what are their parents going to think about me? And I never had an issue going to your parents' house. They always welcomed me. They always, treated me warmly, and I loved going over there. So I just want to make, let you realize, how I felt about it. It was awesome. It was awesome. It's awesome being your friend. And it was awesome growing up with you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the kind words.
Yeah,
you
man.
got to see the family. You got to see the family dynamic from the outside. You weren't in the battlefield all the time, but
yeah,
I do appreciate that though.
That's how it works, man. And that's how good friends understand each other. And there's a reason I wasn't in the battlefield is because you didn't let me, and that's because you're my friend and you wanted to hide that from me, and that's fine. The same thing with me. Like, all my friends didn't know everything of what was going on with me, but we protect each other because we love each other. And I'm grateful for you to come on here and be one of my good friends, man. And congratulations on your Hall of Fame. Congratulations on your baby, man. That's awesome. All these things happening, like within a couple years, you got married, all these things, man. So I'm happy for you.
Got married twice to the same woman.
Yeah. So that's awesome, man. Congratulations on everything. And again, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks, Lorenzo. It was great being on here, and I really like seeing you doing all this stuff and seeing how much joy and pleasure it brings you. And I like listening to, because I see all these names on your podcast, and I like listening, and because I can relate to them. I had a relationship with most of them, so yeah. It's cool. And I'm glad you're doing this and enjoying yourself.
All right, yeah, man. Thanks.
Keep it up.
Thank you.
Anytime.